Okay, hi everybody. David Fogel back with you, CEO of the Symphonina Foundation, and back with another Symphonina Foundation podcast. And as we're doing these days, it's one podcast a day at the Symphonina Foundation, sometimes two. And we're joined today by pianist and composer Nan Avant. How are you, Nan?
I'm doing great, David. Thank you for having me today on your podcast. Really
Oh, it's
appreciate it.
no, it's our pleasure. We love focusing the spotlight on people from the symphonic world. It's what we do, and sharing the joy of symphonic music with young audiences around the world. And I would say, as I do, young means younger than me, which is just about everybody. So we're very happy to share your work. You have actually multiple things submitted for Grammy consideration this year. The one I'm most familiar with is Nani Lahaina, and I do want to talk about that with you. It has some special meaning to me as well, performed by the London Symphony Orchestra with Davide Alogna on violin. But I'm happy to go wherever you'd like to go with the conversation. Maybe we start there and we talk about how you compose it and your inspiration for it, and then we can talk about the other things that you have going on as well.
That sounds great. Nani Lahaina was composed as a composition for the London Symphony Orchestra with Davide, as you mentioned, Davide Alogna, and Miran Vaupotic conducting. So Davide Alogna is a violinist. And I was actually invited in, I think it was beginning of 2023 in the summer to write a new work for the London Symphony Orchestra. And PARMA Recording is who asked me, along with 7 other composers. And they had a requirement of making the piece loosely about the environment and also 5 minutes or less. So it was at that time, within, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks, that I actually watched on the television the devastating winds and fires that took place in Lahaina, Maui, Hawaii. And, at first when I thought, what am I going to write about for an environment piece? I was skeptical until I saw that. And immediately I thought, well, this is it, because Lahaina had a huge impact on me. I had, when I was like 18, right out of high school, I had lived and worked in Lahaina, right across from the banyan tree. And it was Lahaina Curio Shop. I was just a clerk there, but I was there for a few months, and I really grew to love that place and love the people and the music. And, it was just devastating to see that footage, to see that it had been overtaken by the fires and the winds, and people were running into the water to save themselves. And yeah, it was an emotional impact for me. So I started to write about that.
Well, I have to say before we go on about how you created it, it was for me too. So many of you may know I went to University of Hawaii in Honolulu for, well, 1 year anyway, 1987, 88 for grad school, before coming back to UC San Diego. And following that, I did some work on Maui when I was working on breast cancer research with artificial intelligence in the 1990s. Worked with Dr. Gene Wasson at the Maui Memorial Hospital in Wailuku. Spent a lot of time in Lahaina and have great affinity for the Hawaiian Islands generally. And I too was watching that video footage of the fires coming through Lahaina, and I could imagine 80-mile-an-hour winds in Maui pretty easily. And I could imagine with great clarity what it would have been like to be there. 102 people or so lost their life in that fire. So yes, just a devastating event. I've been back. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to be back since the fire, but I've been back recently this year, actually. And things are coming back, but it does take a while, and it takes a while physically, and it takes a while mentally. So I appreciate you using that as inspiration, truly, because it's easy. I think Hawaii is paradise, and people have it out of mind until they want to go there. But it's worth the musical tribute, and I think you've done an excellent job with it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And I think it's fantastic you knew Lahaina as well. So you know how much of it was a beautiful place. It's just so
Yeah.
unique,
Yeah, absolutely. It
very
will be,
unique.
it is, and it will be again in its own way again, but not the same way it was before, you know?
I agree. I agree. And I have to point out too that the composition I wrote does start out with this wind machine idea.
Hmm.
Okay, wind is where I really focused at the very beginning. I did some research on wind and how to create it, ended up with Wind Machine. I can go into detail if we end up doing that. But so the piece starts out with that devastating sound and kind of the catastrophic feel to it. But my feeling was, just like you said, things are changing. My feeling was that the music was to create a piece that had the sense of hope and beauty and the expression of what Lahaina meant to me, and in hope that they will rebuild, the people will, revive. And although 100 people lost their lives in that, which is amazingly terrible. But that's the composition. It's not just a devastating thing at the beginning. It's the feeling of forward motion and beauty and progress for them.
Yep. Let me ask you, when you did the piece with the London Symphony Orchestra and Davide, what was your direct involvement? Did you go to London to record? Were you doing that remotely? How did you do the logistics of it?
I went to the recording and it was just
There you go.
amazing. It was just, yeah. I had recorded actually with London Symphony before, and it was remote. It was
Mhm.
during the COVID thing, so I couldn't go.
Yeah.
But it was just, I got to meet the violinist,
Hmm.
Davide.
Hmm.
He was so rich and expressive and warm. He was just a really cool person. Not only that, of being a brilliant violinist. I don't know if you can hear it, but I hear it in his playing in that piece.
Yeah.
It's just so emotional, expressive, heartfelt. And I can hear him breathing. He's actually taking a breath before a passage, which I think is kind of
Interesting.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And as part of that whole album, there's many different wonderful compositions on that album. What is the category that it's submitted for?
The album itself is submitted to Best Classical Instrumental Solo. This is Parma's submission,
Hmm.
Parma, the recording company. And my composition is in Best Classical Contemporary Composition. So
Okay.
there's a
Great.
couple of different things in there.
Yes. Okay. And you have some other things submitted as well.
I do. I wrote a piece during the time of COVID. So 2020. It was spring and summer of 2020.
Oh, yes, I remember it well.
Yes, we
Too
try to
slow the spread
forget,
or
but
whatever it was. Right. Yeah, exactly. Sure.
that was a hard time. So anyway, I wrote a
Yeah.
piece, and it was really what I was feeling again, what I was feeling at the time. And again, the footage, you see stuff on television
Mm.
and just the overwhelming things that were going on. So the name of this work is Sirens of the Salish Sea. And the Salish Sea is actually a body of water outside of Seattle, where I live.
Okay.
And it's also called Puget Sound.
Hmm.
So Salish Sea is kind of getting to be more used as a term for Puget Sound. And it's after the Salish tribe. So
Okay.
it's a tribal name.
Uh-huh.
So I named it that. Sirens of the Salish Sea as a metaphor, a musical metaphor, plus it's just, again, what I was feeling. The idea of sirens, yes, at the sea,
Hmm.
the, mythological thing,
Yeah.
but also just the sirens of life and the sirens on the streets and things like that. So I submitted two in this category. Best arrangement, instrumental or a cappella. And the reason why I did that is I wrote this originally as a quintet suite.
Yeah. Okay.
So for piano, clarinet, violin, cello, viola, and I orchestrated it to full orchestra, which that's what I submitted.
Hmm.
And you kind of have to keep those categories clear. So that's why it's in the arrangement category.
Right.
And I submitted, which actually just won an award, Sirens of the Salish Sea, serenely, it's the fourth movement,
Hmm.
serenely sailing. And that's adrift at sea. And that is the calmness I was feeling. Kind of like the ambiguity and the calmness on the sea, and also how he's feeling emotionally. There's another movement. The very last movement is Sirens of the Salish Sea, specifically the fifth movement. And that is more, what would it be? It's more of like what I was seeing day to day. Okay. So specifically, it was I think it was May 20th, 2025, and the event that took place that day. And so it gets into a very hectic sound and
Hmm.
chaotic and sirens. So it starts out calm, but then it kind of increases, and a little bit on the contemporary classical side, a little bit more different than what I write. And then it gradually calms down into just complete silence and then goes into a melodic tone, which again, I tend to end things with hope
We could use
and
that. It's true.
hope and peace and
Yep.
just a feeling of let's go forward.
It
So
beats the last chapter of Despair, man.
yes,
It sure does.
exactly.
Yes.
So that's what that was about.
Yeah. And let me ask, do you have anything else that's submitted, or did we cover everything that you have?
Those two,
Uh-huh.
actually those three, that's Nani Lahaina and then Sirens of the Salish Sea, the fourth movement and the fifth movement of the orchestral suite. I'm going to record the second and third because I've recorded the first, and I'm going to get that completely done here, hopefully soon.
Well,
So
while I have enjoyed Nani Lahaina, I have not had the opportunity and pleasure yet to enjoy the other ones, and I look forward to doing that. And the entire Symphonic Stradivarius album is terrific. So I encourage everybody to listen to all of your work and all of everybody else's work on that album as well. I do want to ask you, you grew up and partly, I think, in America, partly in Peru, if I understood correctly. You can check me on that. But you got into piano and have a Peruvian influence from your father. What's the story?
I'm actually just a Washington State, Seattle area person, but I did live in Lima, Peru
Hmm.
for about 6 months as a teenager.
Okay,
And that was with my father's relatives, so great aunt and uncle, cousins, all that kind of thing. So I got my sister and I got immersed in that culture, which was awesome.
yeah,
And I'm so glad I had that international experience of living somewhere different. So Peruvian heritage. My father was half American, half Peruvian. So I'm one quarter Peruvian. His influence was, the Spanish influence. He did not play an instrument. He was a dentist.
okay,
And but my mother was on the artistic side. She was a painter, so art on my mom's side.
got it.
So that whole music and art concept is really on her side. But my
Yeah.
father's influence is very rich.
Okay, and but they still encourage you to start piano pretty young, I'm guessing.
Yes, I was 7.
7, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I started at 7 and I continued through high school, obviously. And then I did my excursion there to Lahaina for a few months after high school. And then I attended Cornish School in Seattle, which is a multi-art place. And then I attended California Institute of the Arts, CalArts, in your area, kind of
Yes,
north of your area.
yep, a little
It's
bit
north of,
up the road here.
yeah, Valencia, north of LA.
Hmm.
So I got a degree in piano performance there. So I'm a classically trained pianist.
Hmm.
I've practiced a lot of piano.
I bet you have.
It was one summer I did like 6 or 8 hours a day. Yeah, it was one of those things. So I'm very established in that instrument.
Yeah, when you're into it like that, and if you think back to those times when you're doing 6 hours, 8 hours a day, I guess you're not doing that right now. But when you were, did you have anything that you were focusing on as like intermediate goals, things that would help someone else who's also doing piano performance as part of their education, or even any instrument really? And the second part of that question is how do you maintain doing that kind of level of practice without injuring yourself along the way, and then having to take a break until you heal up?
Okay, those two questions. Let's see. Let me start with the first one. I think that, artists have a focus. They're really into their art. And so as CalArts is a performing multimedia college of music and art, you're really immersed in it. And a lot of people like me, after graduation, I taught. You kind of have to get going with making some money.
Yep.
So I did that. And I think that's a good thing to do. I think if people want to teach in public schools, I didn't do that, but if they do and they're actually majoring in music, that's a good thing to get. Get your education degree too,
Hmm.
and be able to teach in schools and have that as part of your background. If you have other interests, if you're into writing music and that kind of thing, there's all kinds of things. Obviously in LA, there's a ton of stuff there. So I was very focused on music and practicing and keeping that going. As far as the injury situation, yeah, I didn't ever have that, but I do
Okay.
have to say I had a friend that did. Yeah,
Yeah.
she injured herself. She was a pianist. I think she was possibly at Juilliard or Eastman before she came to CalArts, and she was a master's student when she came to CalArts, but she had injured her hand so much that She couldn't play, so she was a composition major.
Yeah.
So it changed. So you have to be careful. I'm not sure how people do it now, but you have to know when to stop. I mean, stop practicing, not stop playing, but be
Yeah.
careful with yourself.
Take breaks or whatever it might be, and not overdo, not be not, the
Right.
body's a machine at some point. So things tend
Right.
to break down when they're overused if they're not treated well, right?
Right. And have you heard of things yourself that people are doing that?
I've interviewed people who've had similar situations where they had to take long breaks. And I will say too, my second classical teacher, who's no longer with us, Donna, was a touring concert pianist and developed, as I understand it or remember anyway, tendonitis in her left arm that prevented her from continuing her career. At the end, she tried to play through it, did what everybody would do if they're touring. They'd probably take enough Advil to make the pain go away.
Mhm.
And eventually it got to be where she didn't want to play anymore. I think part of that was maybe, she's not here to tell me I'm getting it wrong. So I'll just tell it how I remember it. And if I got it wrong, I'm sorry, Donna. But, I think she got to the point where she couldn't play the way she wanted to. And Rachmaninoff and Bach were her favorite things. And she was very technical and she just couldn't play at the level that she wanted to. But I will say, in the times that I took lessons with her, there was one particular time where I was doing something not the way she wanted it. And she's like, she just moved me over and said no like this, and I'm like, oh my god, that sounds beautiful. So I wish she had played more because her own standards were way too high, I think, for the level of enjoyment and pleasure she could have given everybody else by playing. But it's not for me to get inside other people's mindsets, but it's just it's a true thing where you might be disappointing yourself, but you might be bringing a lot of joy to other people. So
It's so true. And I think classical musicians are perfectionists, especially on that level.
that level for sure. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
are their expectations are very high,
Yeah.
and we need to be a little bit nicer to
It's
ourselves.
not jazz at that level. It's true. So
Yes, yeah. Well,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. What are you working on coming up for next year, Nan? I mean, we got the Grammy thing, and the Grammy thing is all consuming for a little while now, but there will be 2026. It will come. So what are you gonna share with us for next year?
Actually, I'm working on some orchestral translations that I've been doing
Mhm.
and getting those prepared for recording. And then I'm also starting a new work with Parma, which I will be more detailed about when I
All
get.
right, it's a secret for now.
It's a secret. Yes. I'm one of those
It's
kind of
okay.
people.
That's all
I
right.
don't talk about it,
We'll find out what it is
but
when
you
you're
will
ready
know.
to tell us.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
that's it. Nan, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, I'm on social media, of course. I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram, and yeah, there's others out there, but nanavant.com. So it's nanavant.com is my actual website. But as far as the social media is Nan Avant, one word, and they can find me there.
That sounds good. Okay. Well, we encourage everybody to listen to your work and give it the consideration that it is definitely due as we come to this Grammy time. And if there's anything that we can do at the Symphonina Foundation to be of help to you, Nan, you just let us know. We're going to listen to some more of your great work on the way out here.
Thank you so much, David. Appreciate it.